Hi, I'm Kate with For the Love, and today we're going to learn about adverbs in our Learning to Write program. To get started, I click on the topic from our table of contents, and that brings me to a teacher page. This is a reference for teachers of lots of different adverbs that they can use in their anchor charts or to give examples for students. This is a student page. You can either print this out for students or they can copy it into their writer's notebooks. At the top, it tells us what adverbs are, how we use them in sentences. We can describe verbs using adverbs. An adverb can tell how an action happens. Most of these adverbs will end in ly. Now, this page is specifically about adverbs that tell how something happens. There are different adverbs that we're going to go over in this lesson, but you will want to break this out into multiple days. So here, the chart that the students are going to complete, they're given a subject, a noun, and then a verb, and they need to describe how the verb is done. So the eagle soared. How did the eagle soar? That would be your adverb. You will want to go through this with students or at least have a list of adverbs that tell how actions are done so that students know what kinds of words to put in here. This is all new information for them, and so you want a lot of direct instruction to support them as they are learning. Here is an example of an answer key. There are lots of right answers for these, but I wanted to show you one way you could fill it out. So the eagle soared gracefully, the bear climbs quickly, a cat meowed loudly, walruses sit lazily. You can see all of these are complete sentence with an adverb that tells how the action was done. Once students have completed that sheet, they are ready to write some sentences by themselves. This word bank will help them as they can focus on putting the words together in the right order instead of having a blank piece of paper in front of them. On the left, we have our mechanics checklist that we always use to make sure students are writing their sentences that start with a capital letter, end with punctuation, have spaces between the words, and have the words spelled correctly. Here are some examples of sentences you can use that include adverbs that tell how an action happened. These are great, again, for anchor charts or giving examples to students before they are writing or if they need extra support after they have tried writing their own sentences. The next kind of adverb we are going to tackle in this lesson are adverbs that tell where an action happens. You will definitely need to have your list of adverbs that tell where something happens to support your students as they work on this activity. This chart gives the subject and the verb, and they need to pick an adverb that tells where the action is happening. And here is an example of an answer key that you could use. Notice that all of my adverbs are telling places that an action could be happening. Once students have completed that chart, they can use it to support themselves as they write sentences with adverbs that tell where an action is happening. Here are example sentences that you can use to support your students. The next kind of adverb we're going to look at are adverbs that tell when an action happens. We're doing the same thing as before, but you will want to make sure you have your adverb list that tells when things happen to support your students. Here is a sample answer key, one way to answer these questions or fill in this chart. And then students will get back to business writing sentences. Notice that in this word bank, all of our adverbs have when an action could happen. Here are examples telling when or how often an action happens. Adverbs can also tell how much an action happens. So this is another set of adverbs you will want to display for your students. And then they are just going to go through the same process of adding an adverb to give more information to the subject and verb. Here is a suggested answer key. Here is another chart giving another order for the adverb and verb. So adverbs can come after verbs or they can come before verbs. Either way is grammatically correct in different situations. And so we want students to play around with trying to put the adverb in a different place. In these sentences, they're going to have the subject, then the adverb, then the verb. This works definitely with adverbs that tell how often or how much an object happens. It might or might not work with other adverbs. You will have to play around with it with your students. Here is a suggested answer key. And then students will write sentences. They can write sentences with the adverb either before the verb or after the verb. And here are some sample sentences that show how to use adverbs that tell how often or how much an action happens. Finally, we can use adverbs to describe adjectives. In this case, the adverb is saying how much the adjective describes the subject. So the princess is beautiful. The adverb is going to tell us how beautiful the princess is. Is she very beautiful? Is she kind of beautiful? Is she not beautiful? All of those words are adverbs that describe the adjective. Again, you're going to want a list of adverbs that work to describe adjectives for your students, and they can use those to complete this chart to describe the adjectives. Here is a sample answer key that you can use. And here is sentence practice where students can practice writing sentences with adverbs that describe adjectives. Here are some sample sentences of adverbs describing adjectives. And that is everything for using adverbs in a sentence.